You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to this week's episode of the Supernaturelle show, hosted by myself, Gemma, and the lovely Jo. Hi, Jo, you okay?
Hi, baby, you okay? Yeah, good, thanks.
Fab, how are you?
I'm good. Missed you over the weekend, though. You've had a bit of an action-packed one, haven't you?
I have. I've been so busy. It's unreal. I went all the way to Glasgow, all by myself. Well, not all by myself, with my daughter, but I felt like a very big, strong girl.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, do you know what? It was fab. It was fab. And anybody that was listening earlier to the weekly roundup that Kerry does, Kerry said how people that are into like horror and anime and all that sort of thing, they're all into the paranormal as well. So I actually think that the paranormal world is missing a trick or two there, you know?
Definitely. It's so nice to see Sam having a giggle as well and smiling and doing what she loves doing as well. So,
oh, definitely. She had an amazing weekend, and that is all that I can ask for. How was your weekend? What have you been up to?
Well, it's been my first weekend to have the kids, so we've literally just done, the lurgies hit anyway, so it's kind of like, oh dear. But no, it's just been lovely just having the noise around the house with the girls and, you know, Josh just being his usual self, shouting at his Xbox. But,
well, he is a teenager.
I know. Did you see my post the other day?
Yes.
The life and times of a single mother. It's great,
anybody that has got kids, especially teenagers, will totally understand where you're coming from with that, Jo. I think we all go through that moment.
I know, it's fab. And obviously Mark's had Stan this weekend, so he's got a new Gruffalo t-shirt, like jumper, and it's all fluffy, and he's been singing the Gruffalo song, so that's been pretty cool. Watching videos of him and things like that. So yeah, it's been a great weekend. But yeah, I'm looking forward to date night next week with the wifey.
Yes, we have a date.
So yeah, it's long overdue, isn't it?
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? You know,
I think it's 4 months, isn't it, since the last time we went out, and we went paddleboarding, which we entertained everybody, didn't we? That day.
Somebody has to, don't they?
Yeah, but
somebody has to be entertaining, and I think that is actually our job.
Yeah, I think so too. But we've got some good guests tonight, haven't we?
We have. We are joined by the guys from Morris and Anderson Paranormal, or M&A Paranormal. They do like a YouTube channel. So they are paranormal investigators that go off and do hunts and film it, and it's on YouTube for everybody to see. I am actually, before we introduce the guys, I am adding in a link to M&A Paranormal for Facebook so everybody can check them out. But tonight we're joined by two of the team. So we're joined by Chris and Shell. Hey, you guys, you okay?
Yeah, we're fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you two?
Mm-hmm. We're all right. Same stick every day, working out.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
How are you guys getting on? You all right?
Yeah, we're not bad. So, can you tell us a little bit about M&A Paranormal and who you guys are?
Well, we're a bunch of friends from mostly around the same area, who all share an interest in the same thing. I started this more than two and a half years ago with my best friend Jodie, who's and an ex of mine. It took a little while to gain some traction, but finally we got the group that we have today, and we're starting to pick up new recruits. But yeah, we're all sort of locals who all share the same sort of story, where strange things have happened to us and have pushed us into trying to find some answers.
Yeah. So pretty much like all paranormal investigators, really, we're all out to do the same thing, aren't we? We just do it in different ways.
Yeah, we both know a couple of friends, Brian and Nathan.
Oh, the paranormal detective guys.
So we have mutual friends in common.
We have mutual friends.
Yeah, we actually did our first collaboration. It's a first for both of us, actually. It's our first collaboration as groups.
Chris, can I just say you're ruining my line of questioning right now?
It's always good, though, isn't it? To be honest, Jam, when we do things like that. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you guys have listened to the show before, or if you guys know anything about myself and Jolene. But we both, Jolene, I'm calling you by your Sunday name, and we're on Monday.
No, what's so going
sorry.
On?
Myself and Joe, we've been in the paranormal fields for, we'll say, a few years.
I think 20 odd years is more than a few, isn't it?
So yeah, a few years we've been around this scene. So and I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of people, and so has Joe. I mean, Joe's done TV work, etc. Haven't you, Joe?
Yeah, and just a bit of a shout out to my friends at the moment. We are on Thursday, so just keep an eye on Pick. Sorry, that was shameless, that wasn't it?
Yeah, dropping that one in there, Joe. Dropping it in there. So yeah,
I know.
I mean, we are. I would not say that we're experts, would you, Joe? But, we've been around a while and we know our stuff.
Yeah, we definitely do.
I mean, you guys, I know that you've got a YouTube channel, but I mean, I've looked on YouTube and there's a small selection of videos on there at the minute. Is there some more? Or am I missing a link somewhere?
No, we have another channel which just started up as well, called Exploring with M&A, where we go out to different sort of fun places during the daytime, and in places of interest with history and stuff, where people can walk around us who don't know Shropshire and the local country, where they can go around with different things. But we've been stuck with not a lot of time and opportunity for places to take on. There haven't been a lot of sort of big investigations as such.
No. Do you guys just film for YouTube, or do you do public events as well?
We did our first public event September. We hosted a psychic evening.
So is one of you, two of you, all of you, are you all psychics, or?
No, we don't actually have any psychics or sensitives in the group at the moment.
Right. Okay.
How do you find that though? Because obviously, like any normal paranormal group, I say normal. That I say that term very loosely. I say that term very loosely, but any paranormal group usually has a resident medium, psychic, whatever you want to call us. We usually do have something like that. So do you invite people along, or what do you guys do?
I do have a family friend of ours, and her name's Michelle Holt, and she is a medium. She's always promised to help us when we need it.
Right. Okay.
My view on mediums is that I'll do it only when it's necessary, because we do actually help people at home. We have actually helped a few people at home as a group already.
In what sort of way have you helped them, Chris?
It's we go in and investigate the claims that they make of activity and problems that they're having and whatnot.
Okay.
We'll go in and assess what's actually going on as opposed to what they think is going on.
Okay. So what have your findings been so far on people who have claimed to experience things within their homes?
One of them was a lady, I won't name her, but her home was being plagued with activity to a point where glass ornaments, like a glass cabinet full of glasses and antique jugs and stuff, was actually turned upside down whilst it was locked shut.
What, the objects on the inside of the cabinet?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Glass shelvings, all sorts of ornaments and whatnot are turned upside down, and in the cabinet itself is locked, so whilst it's done inside there, it's impossible for anybody to have done it and then close the cabinet.
Right, okay. So do you know when you go into these houses, when people are making these claims, would you suggest to them to actually put up a video camera to try and capture this the evidence that they're trying to capture? Would you advise them on that?
Yeah, we do it and tell them to do it at their own risk, so to speak, because that's what we're for, because it can sometimes have consequences. But most of the time, we try and look for reasonable explanations as like for what they claim is going on and what's actually happening.
Right. Okay.
Because I know a lot of the time in that particular house, there was areas of the house where there was a lot of electrical equipment and plugs and leads and whatnot. A lot of the trouble is that they have a lot of cold spots where there's heating on, but there are certain windows which are facing a certain direction where the wind is going in.
Chris?
Oh, I think we might have.
I think we may have lost them.
Oh, right. Okay. You just sound really quiet, Chris, at the moment.
Yeah, it's all right. It's the microphone we're using.
Right. Okay.
It's we do all sorts of things like for trying to advise them what's actually going on. Is there paranormal activity or is there not? We try and find sensible answers to the questions they have.
Okay,
well.
so you're trying to debunk. So you're trying to debunk all of. Well, actually, that sounds really wrong of me to say that, because obviously, being a medium, you can kind of go into a property, you can understand what's there, and you can understand, the people that are actually haunting a building. But when you've got somebody who claims things are happening, sometimes have you found that some of your clients exaggerate those claims?
Yes, we have had a few exaggerations,
right?
And as there has been one, and we've had to turn around and say, well, that's not what's actually happening. What's actually happening is this, and explain and give them the explanation. A polite explanation what is actually going on. There is in fact actually no particular activity that we can find. So we have had that before. It's our policy to take it step by step, and then mediums last when we.
Have we lost Chris again?
No, I think it's just a microphone that they have at the moment. So.
Chris,
so yeah, we Gemma, we've been into private places. We've got another one lined up actually, which is one of the most interesting places that I think that I can possibly find. And the lady who I spoke to actually said to me, I don't think it's haunted, I don't think this. However, a member of staff has told me she watched 3 people waving, things like that. So I know when we've been into places and we've actually said, I've actually been into well-known haunted venues, and I've said to you before now, I'm not too sure that this is going to be as active as what it is. And boy, have we been like surprised, haven't we? Like we've been into East Drive so many times, haven't we? And it kind of gets monotonous when you've been into a venue 8 or 9 times, and we walk in, don't we? And we're like, oh, not again.
Yeah.
And it's,
I mean, there's a few locations that I personally would rather pull teeth than go back to. And it's not because the location's rubbish. It's because I've been there so many times.
Yeah. But we've had instances, though, haven't we, where the last time we were at East Drive, we were like, wow.
Oh, yeah,
it was just
fab night, without a doubt, yeah.
Everything happened.
Chris and Shell, if you come back on, just jump in and let us know that you're here, and we'll resume interview.
We are
right
you are
here.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, now, yeah. We lost
I've been
you,
doing
so
a
we
bit
just
of
started.
fiddling. We're fine.
That's something that you can't really say on radio, Chris, to be fair, love.
Yeah, I just realised it came out of my mouth.
Oh.
Well, just in case, I will warn everybody, I'm not sure if people see my status, but the fireworks in my local area are horrific. Obviously, it's bonfire night. But some of the rockets do make me jump, so if I do happen to drop an F-bomb, I am so sorry, everybody.
No, it's okay, yeah. We'll let you off. You're always doing it anyway.
Well, I don't do fireworks, do I? So I don't like them. They're too loud.
No, you don't, to be fair.
I don't like loud noises, don't like thunder. So, loud noises scare me, so I tend to squeal. So just in case, I do apologise.
Chris, I want to ask you something, okay? Have you had an instance where you've been going about your daily business and something's happened, but it kind of ties into either a client or a haunting that you think may be occurring, but there's always these signs? So, like, for argument's sake, you go into somewhere and they're playing a song on the radio and somebody's actually said something to you. Have you had that or not?
I'm not sure that we've had that as yet. No.
Do you mean them as a team, Jo, or him personally?
Just as a team, really, because obviously I know he's with Shelley as well. We've not really heard Shelley yet, so it's obviously it's just a question to the both of you, because I know Gemma and I, when we've been investigating somewhere, I can ring Gemma and I'll say, do you know what I've just had today? And she'll say something, and I'm like, I've just had the same today, mate. And
yes, like was you in bed as well? But I think you was. You was laid in bed at your house. I was laid in bed at my house, bearing in mind there's 80 miles between us. And Jo rang me and she was like, you'll never believe what's just happened. And I was like, mate, that's not even funny, because I've just had this right next to me.
Yeah, I think that happens to us quite often, though, doesn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, do you get anything like that, Chris, between your team?
Strange things happening between us where it seems to coincide. Now that you say it, yes.
Yeah.
Now I've heard what you're talking about. Strange things happen between people. I mean, Shell and I, we live pretty much opposite each other across the road. And Jodie actually lives down the end of our road. And the strange thing is, we have sort of activity between our houses, which is really quite odd. And I think we've had things happen more or less at the same time.
Yeah.
So what sort of things are you experiencing then between the 3 houses?
Shadow figures.
Right, okay. So are these people that are you saying that you've probably taken these shadow people home, or is it something that you've probably been aware of previously but not really had a look into prior to you starting the group?
I think I'm not sure. I mean, Shell have to.
I think when you start thinking more about it, you notice more than you would normally. So now that we're constantly got the paranormal on our minds, then you start to notice a bit more than you would otherwise. So I'm not sure whether it is something that maybe we've picked up or whether it is something that's been here all along and we just haven't noticed it before. We're still trying to get to the bottom of all that. So, but yeah, I've only lived in my house for about a year, so it could have been there before. But I don't know.
Did the activity did the activity within your house, Shell, did that start as soon as you moved in, or has it been since, I don't know, your team's become stronger, the bonds got stronger?
Yeah, it probably has been in the last probably couple of months, to be honest, that we've sort of started to notice it. In fact, it's probably since, I don't know, you've added me on Facebook now, so you probably know that me and Chris are in a relationship, so it's probably been since then, to be honest.
So are we blaming Chris? Is this what we're
We're
saying?
blaming
Chris's fault?
We're blaming me. It comes. We have someone here. I've not been able to identify him as such anyway. The initial part of why I really got into this was one night a while ago, which I'll get. We think this thing for me came from the tunnel, which I took Brian and Nathan to.
Yeah.
And it seems to have followed me out of there.
So what did you experience inside the tunnel for that to happen?
If I take you back to the original investigation before we took Brian and Nathan.
Okay. Is this the one that's on YouTube? Because I know you have got a video of that tunnel on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the one, the original one. What's missing from that post was the third night where I went with Shell and Jodie, and it was all kind of quiet until I kicked off the Echovox app, which is sort of a spirit box application on the phone.
But while you're on to Echovox, is that something that you use on a regular basis?
Yes, as a comparison to an actual spirit box and other investigation tactics that help sort of link things together.
So you use Echovox alongside a spirit box, or?
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be like in different areas of the location. Somebody will have spirit box going off down one side, and I'll have the Echovox going off the other side.
Okay, so
just for anybody that's listening at home, Chris, could you just explain what the Echovox app actually is and what it actually does?
So the Echovox is a smartphone application which basically operates like a spirit box, a spirit radio-based device. But instead, on the phone, you have a database of sounds and half words and noises, which can be generated at random. And the theory is that any entity will be able to manipulate these sounds and the database into forming a word.
The only problem that I've personally got with that that statement about the Echovox, if you like, Chris, is that it is an app, and it's got a built-in database of, and I'm rubbish at saying this word. I do apologise, everybody. So everybody listening, please do not take the mick. I am just rubbish with words. So it's got a database of phonemes in it, and it's made up of 20 consonants and 20 vowels. With those 40, you can pretty much make up every single word in the English language. And I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that can also make up other languages' words too. And literally, from what I'm aware of the Echovox, so as I say, I could be wrong, but from what I'm aware, the minute you hit start button on Echovox, it randomly pulls out words. So yeah, it's not like environmental sounds can, or environmental temperature changes, fluctuations can cause the words to come through, because it doesn't even ask for permission to access your microphone. So
yeah,
I get what you're saying about it, but personally I've used it and I've seen it, and I've had a play with it and I've looked into it, and I personally don't see it as a credible form.
A lot of people would actually agree with you. There are several. The creator went through several different formats of it, literally because of that reason. And I am aware that Jason Hawes, is it, from Taps?
Yes, on Taps.
His team's actually used it at one point. I know I know that. I know the creator actually put that on his page at one point. But it's the same risk you take with the spirit box, the radio.
Exactly.
Section.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. You know, when
Well,
you're using the spirit box,
risk.
that scans through the signals, that scan through the waves, radio waves, and you can hear noises from the radio. Nobody can dispute that because it's perfectly obvious. But with the spirit box, I do tend to find that slightly more credible, to be fair. Well, a lot more credible, if I'm honest, because you can hear the voices coming through clear as day. It's like they're disengaged with the device, if you like.
Yeah.
Joe, you get what I'm saying here. I'm
Yeah,
not very good at explaining things. So.
No, you are good at explaining things. It's just, I mean, I think sometimes with smartphone apps and things like that, it's kind of, I'm still skeptical. I'm skeptical about a lot of things. And even though obviously being in tune and being sensitive and being all of that sort of stuff, I am still skeptical about certain things. It's only when we were around the table at Ordsall Hall and I said to you, we said in front of the group that we had, I held up a torch in my hand and I said, can you tell me what I've got in my hand? And they said torch. That is the only time that I can really literally sit there and get excited. And
but straight after you did the torch thing, I picked up the fish and said, what's this? And it came through fish.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just, you know, you kind of, that's the evidence that we are all trying to gather, aren't we?
And it's mission impossible, let's be honest, because I've said it a million times. I don't personally believe that anybody is an expert in this field because every day is a learning day.
I absolutely agree with that.
Every day is a learning day, without a doubt.
The one thing I was always taught by my dad is every day is a lesson.
Oh, massively, yeah.
It's,
I mean, when you're doing spirit box sessions, Chris, and your Echo Vox sessions, do you record it?
Yes.
So, have you had many EVPs come through that from the devices that you've been able to listen back to and say that they're credible?
We've had a few here and there where you record sessions and you hear a few responses come through. We had an investigation at a local bar we got permission to go into, and that's I've
seen that one actually.
Yeah, you actually see the sleeve of the guy actually disappear behind the door frame, and this second night, me and Jade went upstairs and we were getting like strange grunting noises coming from the radio, which is odd because you don't particularly get a lot of that on radio, to be fair.
No, in all fairness, I think I'd be quite shocked if I could hear incoming from a radio.
Strange language coming from it as well, which I won't repeat. So yeah, we've had that, and it's funny you should say about exciting evidence as well. I was actually going to say this before. Was the night of that investigation, the third night, we actually lost the third night. Didn't go up on the video because we actually lost everything due to corrupt files, which is what Brian and Nathan have now suffered when they went with us.
Right. Okay.
And I was using the digital recorder next to, strangely enough, the Echovox app. We'd got nothing on the Spirit Box, but I was getting plenty on the Echovox when all of a sudden my Echovox went absolutely spastic. And obviously you know how Echovox works.
Yeah.
This was a clear-cut woman's voice coming over the Echovox like I'm speaking to you now and said, come to me, over the Echovox.
Oh.
No segmented words put together. This was a clear, fluid sentence that was spoken over. Mm-hmm. And we were chased out of the tunnel by a shadow figure.
Oh, my God. Did you catch that at all on
we would have, but like we said, when we got home the next morning, we checked the footage and we lost everything, not just the video recordings, but all the audio. Literally every single bit of recording we took was corrupt. We couldn't watch any of it. We took Brian and Nathan there on Halloween, and we had issues with recording whilst we were there. I was with Brian for a while, and we couldn't even record part of what we did because it just kept coming up with corrupt files.
See, don't you just find that so irritating?
Yeah,
it really winds me up when that happens.
Yeah, they messaged to say they'd posted their video the other day, but probably more than 50% of what we recorded on the night has been lost due to corrupt files, and that's using the same equipment and the same memory cards that they use for every investigation. They've never had an issue with it before, so it's just a bit weird that it happened in the same location that it happened to us.
Yeah, massively, because I know the paranormal detective boys are out quite often. They're often out recording and investigating. So for their equipment to malfunction,
I was watching them on the night, and I learned actually quite a lot from watching those guys operate that night, which was quite wonderful for me because I love learning new things.
Well, it's just going back to what we said, every day is a school day when it comes to the paranormal field, and working with other teams, other groups, whatever you want to call them, other investigators, that can help you improve on your knowledge.
Yeah. This is what we're all about: increasing our knowledge, improving our techniques, and bettering ourselves so we can give people more comprehensive answers and help them a bit more thoroughly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, quite rightly so too. People, like you say, you go into people's houses and doing private investigations and things like that, and people are coming to you in their hour of need, and they're hoping and praying that you're going to be able to give them answers. We're not always going to have the answers as paranormal investigators. Myself and Joe's a medium as well, as you know, so Joe gets it from both sides, if you like, but we always try and debunk.
Yeah, that's our main thing. We if we go into a private residence, that's the first thing we look to do, is to debunk everything that they've said that happens, and then we go from there. So if we thought that a medium was required, we do know somebody that would fill in that role for us. But
yeah, you said something then that kind of stoked like something in me. You mentioned that when you go into a place where somebody's actually got evidence, they think that they've got a haunting or something like that. You've just said that you go in there with a view to debunking what they're experiencing. Now, would you go in and actually try and debunk everything, or would you? Because I think looking at it from both flip sides of the coin, you'd have to be. You have to be impartial when you're listening to someone, because people do get quite distressed when they believe that they've got something, haven't they? And it's basically when you're sat on the fence. We've had experiences, everybody within the paranormal. This is the reason why most of us get into the field. And usually when you have somebody who is probably at their wit's end, they're probably suffering from one, lack of sleep, they're probably stressed out with, daily stresses. The last thing, I don't know, I think looking at it from a paranormal type, I would actually sit down and probably speak to that person rather than trying to debunk things straight out.
Definitely.
Our mode of operation, it literally is just that. It starts with a gentle conversation with the client to sit down on a day to find out what exactly is going on, where and when and how, and specifically when we actually come in as a group to investigate is when we'll try and find the alternative explanations for things that people can consider when these things are happening. So as to ease their minds a little bit, to sort of start thinking, well, no, there's not something scary going on. It's actually that.
Yeah. Before you go out and you do any investigation, whether it be a private or a private location or one of your average hunts, do you do research on the locations beforehand?
Yes.
Yeah, not loads, but we do a little.
So how do you find that impacts on your hunt itself? I mean, obviously, when you're doing a private investigation in somebody's house, that is slightly different because that is more personalised. But if you just go into any odd location, say the tunnels, if you go into the tunnels, how do you think that knowing the history on that location can impact on your event or your investigation? Sorry, because you're not an events team, are you?
No. Knowing the history of a place, I don't believe affects you that much when it comes to what you'll experience. It's the thing about doing research in places when you actually start getting towards the stories that are connected to it. So for the tunnel, I didn't particularly read many of the stories until after my first investigation, to try and sort of link up what we'd experienced. And surprisingly enough, nothing from the stories and the location actually linked up. So for us, it's to find out the history of the location, find out what it was, what it did, what it's been through.
Yeah.
You leave the stories to one side until we've actually done something there, so we can link up any pertinent facts.
Yeah. I mean, I never ever do any research on any location beforehand before investigating, for the simple reason I do not want preconceived ideas on who or what can be trying to communicate with me. So I tend to go do the investigation, and then because let's be honest, you don't always get any activity. If we get some form of activity, come back and then do my research and see if anything links up, see if anything's coordinating.
Yeah,
a lot of the time one of us might do a little bit of research, but we don't tend to tell the rest of the team until afterwards what we found out, for that reason, because we don't want to put thoughts into their mind before we go. And
you don't want to corrupt your own results.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do exactly the same with Jo. I mean, I tend to do all the bookings or the majority, of the bookings for Phantasmic, for no other reason other than Jo can then just find out that she's going here, and then anything that she picks up on in the run up to the event or at the event, especially if it's somewhere that I've been numerous times, Jo will say something, and then I can actually say to Jo whether or not she's right, or sometimes along the right lines, but just a little bit missing that I want her to tell me before I'll confirm.
Yeah.
I personally think that makes for better investigating.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's swiftly move on here to the theories around ghost hunting and the practices of ghost hunting, if you like. So do you guys ever use the Singapore theory at all?
The theory of association, yes. I actually used it in the Georgian Dragon.
That was the pub, wasn't it?
Yeah. The theory of association. So we had some music going. We took a few bottles of alcohol into the premises, and we sat down. We were having a chat over some music with some alcohol on the location, and lo and behold, the K2 starts going off out of nowhere.
Oh.
And the K2 was actually on the table adjacent to us. I was offering the guy to sit down and take a swig from the bottle. Off goes the K2.
Okay, so what other equipment did you have there that night?
We had an IR camera. We had an IR camera pointing out towards the hallway in the restaurant area. That didn't get anything. We had the K2. We had a digital recorder going, as well as later using the ghost box. But our most useful piece of equipment yet is a modified digital camera, which is called the full spectrum camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's been our most useful piece of equipment yet in capturing the quite strange pictures that we've had. Some of which are locations we haven't told you about yet, actually. But we had a fair coverage of things going on there that night, and the strangest part of it is that like half of our equipment didn't pick up anything, where some of our more obscure equipment did pick up stuff. And the fact that such a very sort of simple idea actually managed to generate a result. We were just sitting there chatting with some alcohol and some music, managed to stir something somewhere.
That's interesting, isn't it, Gemma? Because I mean, obviously, like we all know. Do you guys do baseline tests when you enter properties or anything like that?
Yeah, to get generalized readings of K2s and whatnot. Yes, and we do it with the K2, and we do it with
I think
with a temperature gun as well. So because we want to get an idea for cold spots as well.
Can you just repeat that for me? Because
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think what Joe was trying to say there was, that you broke up. You just broke up there too, Joe. When you were just saying that, Chris, we sort of lost you for a minute.
Yeah, I think my Wi-Fi is being naughty. The baseline test.
You just love it when that happens.
This is absolutely brilliant. Baseline test, yes, it is actually a must. I actually have an EMF detector, which is actually a handheld one, which I use for identifying areas of a location which actually do give off different levels of EMF, of solid fields of EMF, and we use our temperature gun to ascertain what temperature the location is at, so we can identify where the fluctuations are.
So on average, if you're getting fluctuations within the temperature, what sort of reading do you go to before you start questioning the drop or the raise in that temperature?
So if we identified a room to be at 22 degrees, I'd have to see the 2-degree drop or increase before I'd start questioning what's going on, because it just depends on how many people are in the room, because it's more people who are in the room, the more the temperature rises. But you'd have to increase or decrease that margin in conjunction with how many people are there. If there are 5 or 6 people in the room, you're going to start raising the temperature of the room just through body heat. Yeah,
naturally. And the same if people leave the room, it is going to make a difference with your fluctuation.
Yes, the fluctuations have to be quite severe. And when it comes to EMF baseline testing, we're all aware of artificial EMF fields created by wiring and fuse boxes and whatnot. So so baseline testing is a must for us.
Yeah, definitely. I think it should be for any paranormal investigator, if I'm honest. Do you guys ever use the familiarization theory as well? Because, I mean, I quite like this one. And Joe, you do too, don't you?
I definitely do. I think...
Breaking up chicken.
I'm sorry. It's just, I think my Wi-Fi is playing up as well. But, yeah, the film... I can't even say it, Gemma. It's just...
Familiarization.
I'm just... It's just... I don't actually know what's happening tonight. I'm just... honestly...
It's usually me that can't get my words out.
Not tonight. I think it's me, but yeah, familiarization. Yeah. Yay. What do you actually? I know that's a great one, isn't it? What do you actually? What do you know about that theory?
See, I'm still doing my studying in that regard, and I haven't come across that one yet. I have to say, if I'm being honest, I'm still learning new bits every day. You'll have to explain that one to me, if I'm honest.
Okay, Gemma, do you want to explain that? Because...
Well, obviously, because you're not that aware of it, I'm not going to go into great detail about it, because obviously you can do... I don't want to spoil your research for you. Do you know what I mean?
No, please don't.
It's basically the repetition, suppression, and our interferences and representations of what's happening. Basically, just to sum it up extremely quickly, there's a lot more to it than that. But obviously,
yeah, I get the idea. It's something we'll have to use in conjunction with some of our results and some of our investigations. Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to use it quite often, and Joe, I know. Because obviously we work together, so if I use it, Joe's usually there. So it's a team thing. So yeah, we do tend to use that one, and I've had some good results with that.
Yeah,
Everybody's different, so what one person gets with one experiment, not everybody's going to get the same thing.
Yeah, it's for any newbie ghost hunters that are listening. The only theory I don't want people to try, that I do see a lot of people trying on, that post it on YouTube, is provoking, that I don't like.
What's your reason
why
for
is
that? Are we twins?
Provoking, the method of provoking is a dangerous one, where you can antagonize or challenge or insult or what have you, in order to try and get some sort of response. But it can be quite dangerous, because increasing negative vibes can turn an already bad situation worse.
Yeah, I mean,
in all fairness,
do you guys?
though, oh, sorry, Jo.
It's all right. I'm just gonna ask this question. Do you guys protect yourself before you go to any investigations? Because you mentioned that you had, shadow people in 3 houses that you think that may have come from a tunnel. That kind of leads me to believe that you guys aren't protecting yourselves.
Some of us do, some of us don't.
I do protect myself. It's not always here. I do protect myself. I have a rosary. I always offer prayers before and after my investigations. I know one of my members of my team is. I know 2 members of my team are actually pagans. And have traditional kinds of protection, like sage and whatnot. We do carry.
We've got a pagan too. We have more our little witchy, don't we, Jo?
We do, yeah.
Jo, have we lost you?
She's
I've lost you there.
Oh no, you can. I'm not here. But Shell, you said you don't protect yourself. Is there any reason for that?
Yeah, there is. The reason is because I think if you're going to use something to protect yourself, you have to have a belief in that it's going to protect you. And I don't have a religious belief or anything like this. So I just haven't decided what the right thing to protect me will be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, of course it makes sense, because obviously
I have no religious beliefs.
So I'm not going to carry a cross because I don't think that's going to protect me. I haven't decided what will protect me other than myself at the moment. So, yeah, that is why I don't carry it.
Have you had any recourse from your investigations? Obviously, you said about the shadow people within the 3 houses and things like that. Have you had any negative?
Not at all. And to be honest, when I've only seen the shadow figure 3 times, and I've never got a negative feeling from it.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure that it did follow us or that it was just something that was in my house already, or whether it was maybe even a member of my family that was just visiting or something. But no, so I've never had anything bad happen as a result of not protecting myself as of yet.
Yeah.
So obviously there's always that risk, but we were all aware of that risk, and then we just choose to do this anyway. So
yeah, I'm going to go back because obviously Chris mentioned that you guys are actually in a relationship. Now, I do know a lot of paranormal investigators when they're out and things like that, people do become close. Now, do you guys find yourselves, I know this is quite personal as well, but do you find yourselves disagreeing quite a lot with each other regarding evidence or regarding things that have happened, like the shadow people and things? Because obviously it's difficult, isn't it?
We do have very different ideas on things that we'd like to do and on evidence, whether it's genuine or not. I think we do disagree we always have them. We've been together in the team for longer than we've been in a relationship, so we've always sort of had that little bit where we
is actually a critical part of the analysis process. Definitely. To be fairly honest with you, to have different minds and different views, all conflicting.
Quite rightly so.
Yeah, I think every relationship's like that, though, isn't it? I mean, Gemma and I we've been to venues and some things have happened, and I've said this has happened, and she's like, well, it could have been this, it could have been that, and I'm like, okay. But I love Gemma to bits, and obviously we're not in a relationship, but we are like sisters. We are the wifey, yeah. But yeah, I mean, Gemma is my my best friend, and people do not believe how Gemma and I met. But that's a different story for a different time.
Yeah,
but you guys obviously had been working in a team together before your relationship started. So it's kind of, I think what I'm trying to gauge is, did you see Shelley as a bit of a challenge because she actually challenged your beliefs, Chris?
I am not certain how to answer that one. When she sat right next to me, I never see Shell as a bit of a challenge in a personal way, because because I always believe that good relationships are built on challenge, are built on trials and differences.
Yeah, of course. Like any relationship, any sort of day-to-day relationship, you always have to have those mutual disagreements, and you've got to agree to disagree, haven't you? But
it's a part of the relationship, and it's a part of growing. As a part of the group, I depend on each and every member of my group to disagree when they don't see what I or another member of this group is saying. It's crucial to what we do.
Oh, massively. You need to have a difference of opinion to have a good outcome.
Yeah, there always needs to be that challenge, that disagreement, so we make sure that we're not missing anything.
Yeah. How many people have you got in your team, Chris?
There's 6 of us at the moment. I'm the only girl. There's 6.
Me, you, Jay,
Brian,
Jodie, and Steve. So 6 of us at the moment. I think we've got 2 new members possibly joining us on our next team meeting.
So there's 6 of us. Originally it started out as 5. Brian was the most recent. No, Steve and Brian were the most recent to join us. But currently I'm the only girl. I've pretty much known all of the guys for years, apart from Brian, who's quite new, and we suddenly get on really well, so that's good. But I think out of everybody, I'm probably the most likely to disagree with the rest of the guys. They sort of stick together, and I have to sort of tell them they're wrong quite a lot.
Well, to be honest, I think that's a woman's prerogative, Shell. Okay. So for womankind out there, you carry on, love. You carry on.
Yeah, I think it's healthy. I think that's great though. That you have to debate things within a team, and we've got a really good team, haven't we, Gem? I mean, we are a close knit group as well, and we do private investigations as well as public, and we know just what it means to be able to rely on those people. You've got to make sure
we 100% trust one another 100%. I wouldn't pick another 5 members of the team if because these are the guys that we've got now are just perfect, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you find that having so many members within a team may hinder your chances of evidence or anything like that, because it contaminates areas, doesn't it?
Not necessarily, because I mean, 9 times out of 10 we can't all be together anyway because of different work commitments, so we don't always all go together. However, if we've got a big location that's that's got a lot of reported activity in a number of areas, then I think it is a good opportunity to be able to investigate more areas if you've got more of you there. And not only that, but I think sometimes when there's a few of you together, your energies can sort of add to the chances of being able to pick up more activity. So I think it is quite good to have a few of you there. But I don't think I'd personally like our team to get any bigger. I think we're just at the right number at the moment.
Yeah, personally, don't get me wrong, I've worked in massive teams and I've worked in little teams as well, and I much prefer the little teams for the simple reason, I'm just going to put it out there like I always do because I can't help myself.
Are you going to be really undiplomatic now, like
not,
you
not
usually
really,
are?
But when you've got a massive team, and I've worked in a massive team for a long time.
For groups in the problems in the group, sorry, I'm stuttering because I'm tired. When it comes to that sort of thing, like problems in the group, that comes through me. That's never been that much of a problem for me.
But you've got quite a nice number at the minute, so yeah, I don't really suppose you're going to get that.
We have had a few issues.
Yeah, in the past there have been disagreements and people have fallen out, and that's it, they're leaving and never coming back. But, you know.
I've quickly stamped that out. But when it comes to numbers and locations and investigations, I've always seen it as a good policy to visit the location pretty much alone to get a sense for just how big or small the location is, so just to how many people are there, so it doesn't contaminate the evidence.
So you do like a recce on the location previous.
It's required. I mean, because I'd already been there before at the tunnel.
Yeah,
I'd already known that you don't need any more than 4 people, and because Brian and Nathan were already going to be there, I only really wanted one other person there.
Yeah,
we were going to have the site manager, which was Lee Holland, but he backed out at the last moment for personal reasons. So it just ended up being us.
I personally, I think I would prefer it with just investigators rather than site managers, because sometimes that can be quite off-putting.
The only trick to this one is it was Lee Holland agreed to open the location to Brian and Nathan and me and Shell. I'd been there, but more because the location had suffered criminal activity. But
right, okay.
Lee knew he could trust me, so he opened the location again.
I mean, in all fairness, the location does look fab. I will say, you know, it's somewhere that I've definitely got on my radar now. It's somewhere that I've never been, and there's not that many places that I've not been. So a new place for me is quite exciting. So yeah, it's on my radar now. Now I've seen it, because if I'm honest, I'd never heard of the location before watching the video.
It was one of those things that popped up because I always have a little explore of YouTube and different kinds of videos and whatnot, and it popped up years ago. And it wasn't until I actually started operating inside the group that I realised that might be a good location to go try for like our first big investigation.
Mm.
And the one thing to bear in mind about that place is you already get a really sort of eerie sense for just because of what it is. Even during the daytime, you go in so far and you lose all light whatsoever.
Yeah,
light doesn't travel that far down. And because the tunnel itself is curved, so you do lose the light. And it's just as soon as that happens, it's already eerie, even in the daytime. So you've already got an atmosphere that is always making you a bit sort of questioning. But
yeah, well, it definitely looks fab, and it's definitely spiked my interest without a doubt. Unfortunately, guys, we are running out of time, so thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. It's been good.
It's been a pleasure to be in. It's always a pleasure to meet new people.
This is it. It's always good to talk to new people, especially about the paranormal. Unfortunately, guys, that is all we've got time for tonight. I could go on for hours.
It's been really enjoyable talking to you both.
Bit of a blabbermouth myself. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having us here, guys. And
thanks, guys.
You so
Take
much.
care.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, guys, thank you so much for listening in tonight and joining in the chat room as always. Don't forget there is shows on pretty much every night of the week, 9 p.m. Check out Parasearch Radio on Facebook. All shows do go over onto the YouTube channel. Don't forget to click like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening in. Jojo?
Oh, sorry, I was waiting for you to say, and that's fine from me. Sorry, I'm just on. I'm on a bit of a hyper tonight, aren't I? I'm just like, oh, hello.
Yeah, but woo.
But yeah, I don't know why. It's just honestly, but no, it's been a great show tonight, hasn't it, Gemma? I've quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love a good chat. It's always good to talk to new people.
It is. It's fab. And do you know what? Even though some people, we speak to probably on a regular basis and, friends of friends within the paranormal, sometimes you've just got to find, people who are just starting out and, who are just, coming into the field as relatively newbies. And I'll say that not meaning to be disrespectful, but obviously, we're old hats now. And I say that, I say that politely. Do you feel wounded?
I feel wounded.
Well, I do think between us, we must have around about 40 years experience, haven't we?
Well, so yeah, I'm well over 15, 16 years and you're 20. So yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, we are.
Old hats, yeah. Anyway,
but
back to
we're waffling on again. Yeah,
it's been a fab night. It's been a great show, and as you mentioned, there is shows on every single night of the week. But from me, it's good night,
and good night from me.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.